Usually when we stack segments like this, folks have a tendency to believe that the channel is going one way or another. It's talking too much about Ohio State. It's talking too much about Oklahoma. It's talking too much about Michigan. It's talking too much about Florida State. It's talking too much about Appalachian State. That last one has actually never been said, and I could probably do a whole lot more Appalachian State content. But we do these segments mostly because I want to serve the audience that is here. And the audience that is here also needs to subscribe to the channel as we're approaching 100,000 subscribers. I've said, and I will continue to say until this number changes, 66% of the people that watch this show don't subscribe to the channel on YouTube. It costs you nothing. Just hit the button. Let me get my little 100,000K plaque that I know don't mean a whole lot to nobody else but me. But that's my national champion, and that's one of the reasons that I'm talking about the national championships. Or I should say, that's my national championship, and that's the reason I'm talking about the national champions. For the last 2 weeks, there has been one word that people want to put underneath anything that has a Michigan headline or a Michigan coach or a Michigan player on this show. And I'm assuming on other shows because I don't think this show exists in a vacuum. And it is cheater. And somehow there has become this thought that I am somehow down with cheating. No, I am not down with cheating. I also think that common sense needs to factor into this as well. So if we're going to take this from a deliberate approach, right, and not be so forensic about this approach, let's start with this. Michigan had a guy who was stealing signs, giving those signs to play callers so that they knew what defenses or offenses they were going to face on a given series. Okay. That news is discovered in October 2023, halfway through the 2023 college football season. The part that I think gets lost, or the part that I want to emphasize, and you can throw out, just tell me that you're throwing it out whenever you want to give me a comment about this so that we know that we're working with the same set of facts here. After finding this out, I would assume that coaching staffs who are going to face Michigan the rest of the way, or might face Michigan the rest of the way, a la the Big Ten Championship or the college football playoff, saw that news and did what you or I would do, because they're at least as smart as you and I, which is change your signals. So let's assume you change your signals, and for the sake of this, let's use Ohio State. That means in changing your signals, you no longer are at a disadvantage in the way that you were at a disadvantage. I think watching film is always going to tell us what you are most likely to run given a down and distance, because that's what this is. The sport is about down and distance. Down and distance and securing the best matchup for your players to make plays, and then letting those players have every opportunity to go make those plays. I think we who aren't on the football field feel that this is wildly unfair because we already don't have any way of influencing the game. We would love to, right? That's why people buy tickets to go to the games, not just to have that cool tribal experience. You also know that you are part of the 110,000 at the big house who are yelling and screaming at Ohio State or whomever it might be and influencing whether or not they can even hear the play call or the snap for the play call. That part is what we are drawn to, and we want to have something of a hold on this game that means so much to us. And my job in this space as talk show host for college football, about college football, is to try to examine that. And also, as news continues to come out, talk about it. And the news that is coming out on top of the sign stealing that was last year, we know about the show cause that was given to Jim Harbaugh for not the sign stealing, but for recruiting violations, for which he probably bought some kids some hamburgers and didn't tell the NCAA about it, which is ridiculous and stupid, and a very immature way to show how much you disapprove of this is to give a show cause penalty to a man who is coaching in the NFL and is not likely to return to college football for the foreseeable future. He left, according to him, and I choose to believe him on this because this makes sense to me, left Michigan not because he's afraid of a penalty, but because he wants to win a Super Bowl. I think he wants to join this very elite group of people that have won college football national championships and Super Bowls. What I find interesting about this is that Pete Carroll at USC is accused of doing the same thing with the impermissible benefits that Jim Tressel was, right? And the recruiting violations are the recruiting violations. Those are impermissible benefits. But that did not follow Pete Carroll around once he won his Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks. For Harbaugh, who has won everywhere he's gone, he has whatever it takes to be a guy who can join Pete Carroll and Jimmy Johnson, a couple others, as Barry Switzer, as guys who've won both national championships at the highest level of college football and the Super Bowl. I think that's a worthy pursuit, and I don't think that this sign stealing scandal was zero part of his conclusion, but I don't think it was the major reason, because one of the things that I have learned about Jim Harbaugh is he ain't afraid of nobody, and he certainly isn't afraid of the NCAA. He likes fighting it. He likes fighting it the way that I like being in the comments. He doesn't kowtow from it. So I'm going to give him that benefit of the doubt on that, just my interactions with him and how he has purported himself in front of the media. As a matter of fact, he's answering questions as the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers about his time at Michigan, when a lot of other coaches would say, I'm not talking about that, that's gone and over, and avoid the subject altogether. Now, he has since said, I'm done talking about this, but that's because he talked about it for a full week, and it doesn't seem like it's going anywhere, especially until the NCAA comes down with whatever its penalty is going to be for the sign stealing. The Big Ten already had its suspension of him for 3 games. He wasn't on the sideline. People want to tell me that's not a big deal, and usually having your head coach on the sideline is a big deal, but not for Michigan, who won those football games. I also want to address the players aren't stupid. They know the plays because they knew the play call signals. Well, that also comes from watching film. And I think this is about how we, as a public, are willing to put up with this or not. One of my favorite pieces of NFL film is Luke Kuechly watching film and telling the opposing quarterback everything he's going to do. And the question was asked to Kuechly, how the hell do you know the plays like this? I watch a lot of film. That's what that man was built to do. Watch a lot of film and make a play on it. Tell everybody what was coming, put them in the best position to make a play because he's the quarterback of the defense. But if he was stealing those signs to do the same thing, we would frown upon it, because this is where the line is for us. And this is why I think so many people want to call it cheating. If it feels like you have a photographic memory, we don't call it cheating. And Patrick Mahomes has a photographic memory. He remembers the defense you were in 4 years ago. Lincoln Riley also has a photographic memory for football. Makes him a great play caller. But because those things seem to be talent, as opposed to you gaining an advantage, we don't frown on those things, right? Just as we wouldn't frown on Steph Curry for being a deadeye, absolutely knocking down every shot he took against France in the gold medal match. It's not cheating because it's awe-inspiring, right? And I don't want to conflate cheating with talent, but I do want to define this line, right, about what we are willing to allow and what we won't. We are willing to allow aggressive film study, and we are willing to allow somebody who is really great at code breaking, looking across the sideline and breaking down those signs in real time, Brent Venables and Clemson, for instance. Same thing is true of somebody who is a really great cruciverbalist, right? If you're a really great cruciverbalist, you probably are really great at code breaking too, because that's your job. You're making codes for people to break, so you're predisposed to breaking code. A cruciverbalist is a crossword constructor. I play a lot of crosswords. Stay woke, fam. I think where we are also drawing a line on this is not just what the act was, what Connor Stallions did, what Michigan benefited from, and then winning the national championship, going 15-0, just gets under our skin because it feels wrong. But it is also that the University of Michigan is not acting as if it did anything wrong. Not really. Its actions for us go under the banner of, oh, they're acting like, let's say, 2019 LSU, and they are enjoying the flowers that come with being college football national champion. And we got the latest iteration of this with Ward Manuel going on the One Star Recruit podcast and saying that Jim Harbaugh will return to Ann Arbor for the first game of the season as an honorary captain. Expect a lot of former Michigan players, particularly for Jim Harbaugh, to show up for this as well. And this is kind of met with derision by people outside of Ann Arbor. Not kind of, is. Their first game is against Fresno State, and before Jeff Tedford needed to step down, I always thought that was going to be a tough game. It still might be, but not as tough as I once thought it was going to be because, well, the pieces have kind of changed, and that's how important I think head coaches are to the success of a football team. You're changing the head coach of a Fresno State team that still could be pretty damn good. That's what I think. That Michigan could do that and still win, I think, is more a tip to the cap to them than people would want to believe, right? They just can't get past the cheating. That's okay. That's all right. I understand that. I tend to come at this also from the standpoint of my own journey of, if you gave me the same advantage you give everybody else, I'm going to win. Full stop. If I get to start from zero like everybody else gets to start from zero, I'm going to win. I will outwork you. I will find a way to do this within the purview of the rules. But I'm going to outwork you. You are going to go to sleep. I will not. You're going to go out for leisure. I will not. As proof, this show is going on the weekends when other people are taking breaks. Okay? I'm pointing all that out to say, I think that Michigan is going to have to commit to the bit as they have, because I think this is 100% who they are, and just go, no, this is what we're going to do. This is why we're going to do it. It does not really concern you. And it doesn't, frankly. They want to make Jim Harbaugh their honorary captain. That's fine. I just want to be clear about this. I think that having him on the sideline for that game is also in response to not having him on the sideline last year. And I think that this is going to say more about Sharon Moore than we would like to believe. I really want Sharon Moore to succeed. And I have my own personal reasons as to why, and they got nothing to do with the University of Michigan, honestly. It is important to me that he succeeds. And I think those of you that have been watching the show long enough know why it is important to me that he succeeds. So for me to continue to talk about that program is also me trying to walk this line. Because it would be very simple to say it doesn't really matter. Because it doesn't to a lot of people. It really doesn't. Michigan might not be that damn good this year, even as they got 4 home games to open the season before they got to go on the road versus Washington. We still don't think that might be the team that wins the Big Ten championship for the 4th time, right? Even though they've won it the last 3 years. And I think Michigan is going to continue to go us against the world, and that's fine. Ohio against the world was Ohio State. Oklahoma against the world. That's how we get down. We want to believe that we're underdogs because we never want anybody to think we got a competitive advantage. We surely don't want people to think we're cheating, because that is the inverse of who we are as a people.